Okay, today we're looking at a story that absolutely shatters expectations. It's a journey that reams of data, history books, and inspiration experts are still studying today, mostly because it completely redefines what we mean when we talk about human endurance, determination, and just ultimate triumph. We're exploring the life of the incredible Wilma Rudolph. If you think you know what it means to overcome adversity, or, if you ever feel like the odds are completely stacked against you, you definitely need to hear this. Today, we're going to map out exactly how she took her deepest physical and societal obstacles and turned them into pure rocket fuel. So get comfortable, focus in, and let's explore the anatomy of true resilience. Okay, let's dive right into this. What does it actually take to become the fastest woman in the world after being told you will never walk? Seriously, think about that for a second. It's a seemingly impossible contrast, right? It almost defies logic. On one end of the spectrum, you have a devastating medical prognosis from trained professionals. And on the other end, the absolute pinnacle of global athletic achievement. How do you cross a chasm that massive? What happens in the middle of those two extremes to bridge that gap? Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're breaking down the timeline and the mindset that made this wild reality possible. Section 1. Told she would never walk. So Wilma Rudolph's life began with some immediate, life-threatening physical struggles. She was born premature back in 1940, and right from her very first breath, she was fighting for survival in a world that was just full of physical and societal obstacles. Now, being born premature in 1940 carried massive risks on its own, but that was just the very first hurdle. As a child, she contracted polio. It's a terrifying disease, and it ravaged her body, leaving her with a twisted leg. The doctors treating her gave a super grim prognosis. They told her and her family that she would never walk again. Just let that sink in. A medical decree that your mobility is permanently gone. But look at the contrast of her eventual reality. She went from a child left with a twisted leg who was told she'd never walk to the fastest woman in the world and a 3-time Olympic gold medalist. No way, right? But she flat out refused to listen to her limitations. She completely rejected the narrative they handed her. So the real question is how she managed to respond to that devastating prognosis. Resilience expert Justine Martin puts it perfectly. Resilience is a muscle we can all build. And this is exactly what Wilma Rudolph did. She didn't just sit back and passively accept her fate. She actively exercised that muscle. Every single day, every step she forced herself to take, every incredibly painful moment in physical therapy, it was all just a repetition in her resilience training. She built her strength from the ground up, entirely defying the medical expectations by just leaning into the hard work of building that muscle. Section 2. Shedding the leg brace. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer speed of this progression. It's staggering. Let's walk through this timeline together. In 1940, she's born premature. Fast forward a bit, and by age 12, against all odds, she has completely stopped using her leg brace. She literally shed the very thing that was supposed to support her for the rest of her life. Then, look at this jump. By age 16, just 4 years after taking off that physical brace, she is running at the Olympics. And then, 4 years after that, she's competing at the 1960 Rome Olympics. I mean, this is an explosive, exponential trajectory, going from physically braced to competing on the global stage in a fraction of a lifetime. It is a pure testament to the sheer force of her will. Section 3. The fastest woman alive. And that brings us to the absolute climax of her athletic career. The year is 1960. The location is the Rome Olympics. You can kind of feel the energy building here. She's no longer just a young competitor who's happy to be there. She is stepping onto the track to prove to the entire world that she is the fastest woman alive. The world stage is set. All eyes are on the woman who was once told she wouldn't even be able to walk. 3. At those Rome Olympics, Wilma Rudolph became the first American woman to win 3 track and field gold medals in a single year. This wasn't just a personal victory, you guys. It was a historic, monumental milestone. She dominated the track in a way no American woman ever had. It's a number that cements her legacy in the history books forever. And it wasn't just about winning those medals. As incredible as that is, she shattered women's records whenever she performed, definitively earning the title of the fastest woman in the world. Her dominance was absolute, undeniable. She didn't just beat her competitors, she completely redefined the limits of human speed and showed everyone exactly what a finely tuned muscle of resilience looks like out on the track. Section 4. Fighting for future generations. But her story doesn't end at the finish line. And honestly, that's what makes her truly remarkable. After she stopped running competitively, she began a completely new fight. She realized that her platform, her voice, and her hard-earned resilience were desperately needed to help future generations face their own obstacles. To really understand the environment she was navigating after her Olympic success, an analysis by the Harvard Kennedy School provides some absolutely crucial context. We do not live in the land of opportunity, as opportunity is far from equally available to all. This frames her post-Olympic reality perfectly. Based on the historical context from the source material, it's clear Wilma didn't just beat polio. She faced immense systemic barriers in a system of segregation that was literally designed to hold people back. She was operating in an economy and a society where opportunity was not equally distributed. So what did she do with her resilience in the face of those systemic barriers? Well, she deployed it to help others. She spent the rest of her life fighting for desegregation and dedicated herself to training and mentoring future generations of child athletes. She consistently pushed past the societal barriers placed in front of her. In essence, she spent her post-athletic career trying to tear down the societal braces that were holding back future generations, using the exact same determination she used to remove her own physical leg brace as a kid. Section 5, the muscle of resilience. And this really brings us full circle. We've seen her specific biographical journey, from her premature birth to Olympic gold to civil rights activism. But her life isn't just an interesting piece of history, right? It's a masterclass in how to process and overcome adversity. Justine Artin offers a really profound summary for this kind of journey. Strength doesn't come from what you go through, it comes from how you rise. And that brilliantly captures Wilma's legacy. It wasn't the polio or the poverty or the systemic segregation that made her strong. It was her response to those things. She turned deep physical and societal pain into an enduring purpose for others. She rose above her circumstances, and in doing so, she lifted up everyone around her. Ultimately, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Wilma Rudolph built hers repetition by repetition, challenge by challenge, until she was completely unstoppable. So the question I'm leaving you with today is this: who inspires your resilience? When you face your own seemingly impossible contrasts, whose story helps you remember to keep building that muscle? Thank you so much for joining me. Keep learning, keep building that resilience, and I'll see you next time.